Chancellor, thank you. Graduates, friends, family, congratulations to you today. It's a very special pleasure for me to introduce our occasional address speaker today, Mr. Robert Johanson, Chairman of the Bendigo and Adelaide Bank and a former Deputy Chancellor of this university. Rob Johanson is a graduate of Melbourne University, where he studied arts and law, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Laws and a Master of Laws. He also holds a Masters of Business Administration from Harvard University. During his 12 years of service as a member of the Council and Deputy Chancellor of the University, Rob Johanson was involved in many aspects of university life, but in particular he helped establish the Australia-India Institute, of which he remains chairman. He is also chairman of the Australian Friends of Asher Slums and director of the Melbourne Business School, the Grant Samuel Group and the biopharmaceutical company Nuclone Limited. It's a great pleasure for me to call upon Robert Johanson to address today's conferring ceremony. Robert.
Chancellor, friends, colleagues, graduands, thank you very much, Professor McCluskey, for that kind introduction. And thank you, Chancellor, for inviting me to speak today. So as Professor McCluskey said, I've been involved in the business of the University of Melbourne for some time. It was, in fact, soberingly 50 years ago next February when I came down from the country, down from Bendigo where I was born, to enrol at the university, and my life would be transformed. I was the first in my family to go to university, but that wasn't unusual. So were many of the friends that I made here. We were all beneficiaries of the expansion of the universities that had occurred in the 1960s, and we were the beneficiaries of the aspirations and the ambitions of our parents, who'd been brought up in the deprivations of the Great Depression, but whose awareness of the world had opened up through World War II. I came down to enrol in university when I was 17. When my father was 17, he joined the Navy and went to war. And he knew he didn't want a repeat of that for his children. So I read the other day that the new president of Harvard, in his inaugural address, talked of the transformative power of education and of the doors of opportunity that are opened by it. I'm sure the opportunities I received here did transform my life and opened up a set of possibilities that otherwise I'd have been ignorant of. Universities are, I believe, crucial social institutions which enrich communities and their civilised societies. So, having been benefited so much by it, I've been happy and privileged to be able to give something back to it, as I hope many of you will all do in the future. Of course, when I came here, very few people previously had gone to university. Very few jobs required or expected that sort of qualification. I think only about 2% of school students went on to university when I came here. It was a long way from the 36% who now come. The problem now is not so much general access to university education, but sometimes dealing with the disenfranchisement that occurs when groups and sections of society are precluded or impeded from participating. So the important project of this university to get at least one person from each secondary school in the state to come here each year. Likely students are identified and supported not just at the end of Year 12, but much earlier in Years 7 and 8, when possible outcomes seem wider. A student cohort comprising people from as wide a set of backgrounds, geographies and social groups as possible will make for a more robust, resilient, challenging and productive student experience in university. The need to ensure and promote access to university education to young people from all parts of the country, from all social and economic groups and from all the regions is a particular interest of mine. At Bendigo Bank, where I'm chairman, many of our customers and their communities are in regional areas where university participation rates are in general very low, sometimes disastrously slow, with a great waste of potential and an impoverishment to those communities. So at the bank for the last 10 years, we've run a scholarship program to help regional students get to universities. We give $5,000 a year for a couple of years. It's not much, but for many it's been enough to be the difference, to get them to take up places rather than stay at home or go to work. This year, we and our partners, we've supported 233 students across Australia. It's one of the biggest programs available. 12 students are here at Melbourne University. Maybe there's one of you here tonight. As I said, the university today is a very different place to the one I came to 50 years ago. It's much bigger, more diverse, and we have a lot more foreign students. A third of the students come from overseas, and they, of course, contribute about half the fee revenue. But inevitably, given the financial requirements of those fees, those students from overseas will, on the whole, be from the affluent parts of those societies. We see a mix of social and economic backgrounds as highly desirable for domestic students, but we don't necessarily look for the same mix in our overseas students. Now, graduating with you tonight is a young man from a very different background. Mahinda, he was brought up in a slum in Delhi. He slept on the floor until he was 12. The hut he lived in was smaller than the room he lived in at Trinity College. He survived childhood, he went to school, eventually university, because of the work and the interventions of ASHA, an organisation that now helps 700,000 people in over 50 separate slum areas in Delhi. ASHA was founded now over 30 years ago by Dr. Kiran Martin. She still runs ASHA, and she's here with us tonight. ASHA means hope in Hindi, and she and her team work to empower women, improve, manage health, get children to school, get them work experience, provide some secure title to the places where the people live and their shelter. It's an extraordinary organisation, and many of us are privileged to be able to help in some way. Mahinda is, as far as we know, the first person ever from these slums in Delhi to graduate from an overseas university. This afternoon he'll be getting a master's degree in computer science. His journey has been an incredible one. Tonight, this ceremony is being watched by groups of people in Delhi, by his family, to whom we pay our respects, and most importantly, by large numbers of young people of those ASHA communities, young people who live in those slums, many now going to school and to university. We hope that all of you are encouraged and inspired by what you see today and by what Mahinda has achieved. Mahinda's here tonight because of the generosity of the university in providing support for his fees, of Trinity College supporting his accommodation, and by a number of others who have helped. We're all very fortunate to have been able to help, and he's contributed hugely to the life of the university, the college, and everyone who's dealt with him. But he shouldn't be a one-off event. We should be encouraging and supporting students from a mix of backgrounds and means from all over Asia to come and study here, to ensure that they too have access to the transformative power of an education at the University of Melbourne. If Australia is really going to engage with this region, really be part of the Asian century, if we're going to take up the challenge that the Varghese report into economic opportunities with India presents, and if we're going to contribute to the economic prosperity and the social development of all parts of these societies, we need a lot more Mahinders. Thank you very much.